The sky turned a deep crimson as the sun dipped behind the misty peaks of Rwanda's Volcanoes National Park. The rainforest below was alive with the calls of birds and distant echoes of unseen creatures. Amid the fading light, a silverback gorilla was leading his small troop through the dense foliage, looking for fruit and shelter before nightfall. The silverback, massive, muscular, and regal, moved with quiet authority. Behind him followed 5 female gorillas, each carrying or closely watching over their young. Their bond was strong, their movements synchronized, and there was a silent trust that ran through the group like a current. But even here in one of Africa's most protected regions, danger was never far. Poachers had returned, setting hidden snares meant for bushmeat and the illegal wildlife trade. Though the national park was under strict surveillance, the forest was vast, and traps were easy to miss. The silverback paused, sniffing the air. Something was off. His instincts took over as he stepped forward to investigate, unaware of the steel jaws hidden under fallen leaves. A sudden, violent snap cut through the silence. The forest erupted with sharp cries as the silverback let out a thunderous roar. A heavy steel snare had clamped onto his leg, digging deep into muscle and bone. He thrashed, panicked, pulling hard, but the trap held firm. The female gorillas rushed toward him, surrounding their leader in a frenzy of panic and protective fear. One of them screamed, another beat her chest. But none dared touch the cruel device. They could only watch as the silverback, the heart of their troop, weakened, his mighty roars turning into low, painful groans. The air felt heavy. The forest went still. Hope was fading. Until the faint hum of a ranger's engine echoed through the trees. The sound of the engine came from a dirt trail weaving through the trees, barely used, almost forgotten. Park Ranger Elias was finishing his daily patrol, heading back before darkness settled in. His truck bumped slowly along the path, windows down, listening to the usual rhythm of the forest. But then he heard it. A deep, guttural bellow followed by sharp screeches. He hit the brakes. Elias stepped out, grabbing his flashlight and tranquilizer gun. He moved cautiously, guided only by instinct and sound. As he climbed a slope choked with vines and twisted roots, he saw them. The troop of gorillas. 5 females stood still in a semicircle. In the middle, the massive silverback lay on his side, a thick snare wrapped brutally around his lower leg. Blood soaked the earth beneath him. His breathing was shallow, eyes half closed. One of the females moved protectively in front of him when she noticed Elias. He froze. One wrong step and they might charge. The ranger slowly raised both hands. "I'm not here to hurt you," he whispered. The gorillas didn't understand his words, but something in his tone held them at bay. The leader of the females, larger than the rest, locked eyes with him. She didn't move. Neither did he. After a few long seconds, Elias gently set his tranquilizer gun down. He didn't want to sedate the silverback unless absolutely necessary. It was too risky without backup. The sun was falling fast, and the deeper night crept, the more dangerous the jungle became. He stepped forward, carefully avoiding eye contact with the females, but always aware of their presence. When he knelt beside the silverback, he could see the metal wire had sliced deep, cutting into tissue. Elias swallowed hard. The silverback's eyes flicked open, locking onto him. But instead of rage, they held something else: pain, fear, and something close to understanding. Time was running out. Elias knew he couldn't waste a second. Every breath the silverback took was labored, and the blood loss was worrying. He pulled out a small toolkit from his belt and carefully examined the snare. It was thick steel wire, the kind used in illegal bush traps, designed to hold rhinos or buffalo, not gorillas. He whispered softly, more to calm himself than the animals around him. "Okay, big guy, we're gonna get you out of this." One of the females grunted lowly. Elias could feel their eyes locked on his every move. Any sudden sound, any slip, and they might attack. But they didn't. They stayed still. The wire was wrapped tight, buried under layers of blood and torn fur. Elias reached for a bolt cutter, small but heavy-duty. His hands trembled as he positioned the blades. The moment he applied pressure, the silverback jolted. Elias flinched. The leader female stepped forward suddenly, growling loud and deep. Elias froze, his heart hammering. She stood tall, her muscles tense. But instead of lunging, she simply watched. Her gaze moved between the silverback and Elias, like she was weighing his intent. "I'm trying to help," he said again quietly. "Let me help him." Then she did something unexpected. She sat. Just like that, she folded her legs and lowered herself, never breaking eye contact. A silent signal. The others followed her lead, sitting down too. Elias exhaled shakily and turned back to the wire. With all his strength, he clamped the cutter onto the thickest part and squeezed. A metallic snap. The wire gave. The silverback jerked violently but didn't strike. Elias quickly unwrapped the snare, layer by layer, revealing a raw, swollen limb. The stench of blood was sharp in the air. He pulled out a field bandage, disinfected the wound, and began wrapping the leg with care. The silverback's breathing eased. The jungle was still now. No growls, no movement. Only the quiet bond forming between man and beast. Elias stepped back slowly, his hands raised, bloodied bandages still clutched in one fist. The silverback lay on its side, breathing heavily but calmer now. His massive chest rose and fell with deep, slow breaths. The females didn't move. They just watched. Minutes passed like hours, but nothing happened. No charge. No attack. Just this strange silence between them. Elias couldn't explain it, but something had shifted. The tension had faded, not completely but enough for him to breathe. He glanced at the trail down the mountain. The sun was dipping behind the ridgeline, casting the forest in a golden orange. He needed to go. But part of him didn't want to. Then the silverback did something that stopped him cold. It pushed itself upright. The beast swayed, unsteady but stood tall. Towering. Regal. And then, it looked at him. Not past him. Not through him. At him. Their eyes locked for maybe 3 seconds. Elias would never forget the weight of that gaze, like the gorilla was memorizing his face. Like it understood. And just before Elias could whisper a word, the silverback turned. With slow, deliberate steps, it walked toward the trees. The females immediately rose and followed, surrounding him like a shield. But none of them looked angry now. They just disappeared. Elias stood there alone, staring at the trail of broken leaves where they'd walked. For the next 3 weeks, he returned to that ridge every evening. Sometimes he just sat, listening to the birds, hoping. Then one evening, just before dusk, he spotted a figure across the ravine. The silverback. Standing on 2 feet, half shrouded in mist, staring right at him from across the trees. Then, just like that, it turned and vanished. Elias smiled, whispering to himself, "You're welcome, brother." He never saw it again. But every now and then, when he camped alone deep in the jungle, he'd hear something in the distance. A low grunt, too heavy to be a bird, too close to be the wind. And he knew. That gorilla never forgot.